Hello there, you are watching the SHADOWBOX devlog for the Windows Beta 1.25, which just released on April 5th, 2025. I am Benjamin Moeller. I'm the creator of the software. I'm also on with the programmer, if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Brayton Brandis. I am, as Ben mentioned, the lead programmer for SHADOWBOX, but obviously if you have any programming experience and you find any bugs that you think you could point us in the right direction on fixing, we definitely appreciate all the help.
And the same goes for me too, because I'm not a game developer. I'm a paleontologist by trade, which is why this thing is crammed full of as much information as I can put it. But not necessarily like made with a game dev's touch. So this is all this is an open early access game that's available for free on Steam right now. You can go and download it and play this yourself and mess around with it, and definitely leave some feedback. Go onto the Steam forums and provide some information on what system you were playing this on. What kind of if there's any accessibility needs that you would like to see implemented into our display settings and other types of systems. There are a few new things in the display systems that I want to show today. There's also 3 new exhibits that were just released in recognition of the fact that I am taking a couple of weeks off. Also, hello, I normally don't have the video on, but I was encouraged to not be lazy and actually show my face here. So, hi, this is what I look like. I am turning, so this is called the early birthday update. I'm turning 26 on Monday, which is going to be the day that this broadcast on YouTube, but I'm recording it the day earlier because I am leaving and taking a short break. I'm not going anywhere fancy, but I definitely need a little bit of a rest. So I went and put together 3 new exhibits for you guys to explore while I'm away and resting up for other things. So we're going to go ahead and show those off. So here's the front lobby. The first thing that I want to point out, by the way, if this is your first time checking it out, here's just some extra information about the project, saying that, for example, all of the fossils that you see here are scans of real, actual fossils that I did myself using photogrammetry. The first new feature that I'm going to show here is the laser pointer. So we talked about this last update, and now it's here. So this is really mostly for me and for other people who might be using this software to do something educational. If you're recording like a lecture, if you do SciComm and stuff and you're using this program, the laser pointer allows you to kind of show what you're actually talking about, because I could, but it would be dumb to like take my camera and point it at the screen and use my hand. So for example, on this piece, which is original fossil but does show some restoration, I can now point out exactly where that restoration is. So right here, this kind of reddish brown portion right there, that's some restoration. You can also see it right here. It's pretty standard, in museum sciences to make sure that the So there's a minor bug with the inspection system where stuff like this happens sometimes, but it's pretty standard where when you're doing restoration on a fossil that you make it pretty clear where that has the difference between the real fossil and the restoration. So right here you can see this portion making up kind of the top of the skull behind the eyes also has some restoration. So that's the laser pointer. You can use it both in this kind of freeform and also when you're inspecting to help you point out what you're pointing out. I'd also like to point out here that, again, this is a free program. This will always be free. I'm not going to add a price tag to it when it's out of early access, but it's obviously not free to create. I've been able to find quite a few low-cost tools to help me get there, but I'm a human being. I have costs for my survival and things like that, and so my backers on Patreon, which is patreon.com/ptpaleo, have been essential to not just getting all of the sort of prelude to this project coming out, all of the writing that I did, all the photography and stuff like that leading up to this, all the videos that I shoot out in the field when I'm out finding fossils, which eventually I scan and put into this software. So if you're interested in helping out, in making a contribution to help this program continue going on, keep it free and stuff like that. There are, as is pretty typical on Patreon, you can do a monthly subscription. I keep that pretty cheap, so the lowest one is just $3 a month. But I also recognize that not everyone wants to do a recurring donation. Some people, your financial situation is a little bit, tricky month to month and stuff like that, or you don't want to sign up and then forget. So we've also added the option to do a one-time donation, and you can see who has done so by going into credits. So under the game credits, this is all of us that have been working on the project, the free plugins through Unreal Engine. But if you go over into this tab, you can see the donor credits. So if you go to patreon.com/ptpaleo/shop, you can get a one-time donation. They range from $10, $20, $50, and $100. Again, this is a one-time thing. It's non-recurring. You get to have your name listed in the game credits. And for these $100 supporters, and I'm so grateful that within a few days of me releasing this, I already have 3 backers who donated to that. So you can see these are the different options, right? So you can either just have your name, if you don't want to take on the optional included message. For $100, you can include a message up to 50 words. So my very kind cousin Austin gave a donation, and he included a little quote. So if you want to include, either, hey, I'm donating this, this is a birthday gift for my kid, who's really into dinosaurs or something like that. Or in this case, you were saying something nice about me. I guess that goes in there too. And then also the Menifee Paleontological Project. This is a group that I'm a part of, but they have also been really generous in contributing back to me and all of the work that I do. So they threw a donation in and included a link to our project website, which you should definitely check out. So these are the different kind of options. For $50, you get 25 words. For 20, you get 10. For 10, you get your name included in the menu. So that is how you back the project. And there's a little bit more information if you'd like to learn more about kind of what my situation is. There is a little blog post that I did on Patreon that you can go and read to get a little bit more background about like where I'm at and stuff like that I don't really want to get into here. So let's show our 3 new exhibits. So the first one, the older 2 of the 3 that I'm going to show you were kind of a surprise. So the Burgess Shale is a really famous deposit. It's located in British Columbia in Canada on the kind of Pacific coast of Canada, and it's a really famous Cambrian age deposit. And it was a surprise to me that I was able to get access to 3 fossils from this deposit because it's from so far away, but I was able to find these 3 in a local collection, take some photos and scan them. So 2 of them belong to this bizarre little animal called Morella. This is the nicer piece over here. This is where the laser pointer comes in handy. Because these fossils are very small animals that have been basically squished flat in shale. So it's kind of akin to a trilobite. You can see it's got kind of a segmented body right there. The telson, the tail, is kind of on here. And this is the head, and you can see on both sides it has these kind of rear curving horns. And there's a second pair that are kind of behind it. And then you have what almost looks like an antenna, and this part is really subtle, that projects off of the top. So I've got some photos of that. This is a scan of the fossil itself. Here's our gorgeous inspection area where you can get some additional information on where it comes from, how old it is. So the exhibit itself says over 500 million years old. The exact age of the Burgess Shale is not super well nailed down compared to some other places. The latest update on this, the latest studies say about 508 million years old. I've seen estimates as low as 505, as high as 530. And there's also a QR code that you can scan to see if you'd like to read the full article. This is on Patreon that's been unlocked. Fossil Friday number 120 is on Morella, and number 121 is on Nasusia, which is the second fossil. This is a brachiopod that's actually in 2 pieces. This is a fairly common thing that you'll see, is that in fairly small, subtle fossils, someone will like physically draw on the piece where the fossil is. I didn't do this, don't blame me. But it's funny to point out that this is one, but the other half of the shell is over here, which they didn't circle for some reason. I've also included on a lot of these new exhibits the breakdown of how you classify these things. So if you're in Kingdom Animalia, you know that it's an animal. Phylum Brachiopoda, these are the brachiopods, which are bivalve-like. They are often described as being like clams, but they're actually from a completely different group. True clams are in a group called Bivalvia. This is Brachiopoda. And of course you can come and inspect this guy as well. You can rotate, move around with your arrow keys, use your laser pointer, all of that good stuff. So this was kind of a bonus. I certainly did not expect to be able to show anything from the Burgess Shale anytime soon. There are a ton of bizarre and incredible species that come from these deposits. This is where Anomalocaris comes from, which people are familiar with. This is where Opabinia comes from, Hallucigenia, Wywaxia. Lots of really cool stuff. And speaking of, by the way, the donation credit, so you notice that there's an artist credit in the middle here. And part of what I'm collecting donations for is to be able to commission art, to be able to show with a little more clarity and a little bit of artistic vision what these animals would have looked like. And the Burgess Shale is the perfect example because there's nothing like Morella around today. If you go to its breakdown, it's an animal, it's an arthropod. Within Arthropoda, you have modern-day insects and animals like that. But the further down you go, you get to Morella morpha. That essentially just means the Morella-shaped animals, the Morellids, and then Morella. So this is from a branch of the animal tree that went completely extinct a long, long time ago. And it can be a little difficult to actually picture, like, what is this supposed to be? And as a paleontologist, I try my best to create artistic illustrations. This whole thing is a type of artistic, recreation of how I'm trying to display this material, but I'm not really good at illustration, right? And so part of what I'm planning on using those donations for is commissioning art, so that different artists who work on paleontological subjects are able to get their work out there, have it displayed, and so that you guys can enjoy as well. So that is the Burgess Shale. And if you'd like to teleport to the Cambrian, there is a teleporter there, so you can go into the Geological Eras Tour and go way back over 500 million years and see what else is there. So that's 508 million years old. If we jump forward a little bit to the second new exhibit, the Silica Formation, this one is about 385 million years old. And these fossils come from the U.S. states of Ohio and Michigan. This was another kind of surprise assemblage that I came across. And there are quite a few fossils that I scanned for this. So you can see each of the ones individually in the rest of the gallery, and then over here is kind of a mix with all of them together in this cool kind of glass effect, which I thought was neat. Let me know aesthetically what you think. But this is a cool exhibit to kind of look at the different fossils and see if you can tell, based off of the more annotated diagrams around the exhibit, if you can identify which each of these are. This one's Mucrospirifer. That one's pretty easy to tell. It's got these really distinct kind of folds to them. There's another example. You can get up real close to look. Scales in the corner over here. So you can get an idea for how big a lot of these are. Showing scale is one of the most difficult things to do in a digital medium. And certainly for something that's geared towards an international audience, there are over 285 players as of right now, from every continent except Antarctica. So people coming from all over have, different concepts for how big a certain object is. It would be easy for me to have like a coin for scale, but obviously if you're from different cultures, you're not going to know how big that coin is if you've never seen it before. And all of these scales are in centimeters. I live in the United States where we don't, the centimeter is not a really common, metric. We use inches and stuff like that. But again, this is a thing that is kind of an in progress development, figuring out like the philosophy of science communication in this medium. Yeah, this is the silica shale. It is just this was a really fun collection to go through and scan and learn more about. There are not any QR codes in this exhibit because I am going to be starting from scratch writing articles on all of these over the next few months. So again, if you are subscribed to PT Paleo for that $3 a month, you get one new article per week, and the Fossil Fridays, which come twice a month, are going to heavily feature these species. Certainly for the next several months, I try to space them out so you don't get all the same thing, one right after the other. And then, of course, we got this cool kind of rotating. This one's Paraspirifer up there on the top. So we got Paraspirifer, Atripa, Strophodonta, Spinocertia, and Mucrospirifer are all in this exhibit. And again, if you'd like to teleport to the Devonian period to see more fossils from that age, you can teleport right there. But I'm going to go ahead and show the final exhibit, the third one, that we have released as part of the early birthday update, which is the Green River Formation here in the Eocene. Now, this was one that was pre-announced. This, for a little bit of behind the scenes, this was an exhibit that was part of the original set that I had put together for the opening beta release, and I just didn't have enough time to refine this one. So I held it back. I said, we're going to release this one in 2025. So this was one of the ones that was pre-announced. This formation is about 50 million years old. The fossils that you're about to see are about 50 million years old. It's a very well-known site from Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. Let's go take a look. So the Green River Formation is a deposit that has just thousands and thousands and thousands of fish. There's tons of other animals too. You can find mammals, plants, reptiles, entire crocodilians. There's snakes, birds, right? Bats. There's a lot of really incredible stuff in the Green River Formation. And I've included some of my specimen photography of more complete fossils. This is of a stingray from an, as of right now, undetermined family. We know it's a stingray, but where exactly it fits inside of that family tree has not been super well determined yet. So this is a fossilized freshwater stingray. This is a fish that come from the same formation. And you can see it's got really delicate preservation of all the fine details. So you can see the spine is intact, all the small bones that make up the fins, and the ribs are all intact. So this is a really remarkable formation. And I will, over time, as I update these new exhibits, keep in mind that everything you see here is not final. The reason that this was released into early access is that we want feedback. Actually, I forgot to use my laser pointer. Spine is intact. The ribs are all here. These fins are still here. All these tiny little bones that go into the fins are all present here. So there's some incredibly well-preserved specimens that I will be working on over time getting access to. But for now, what I wanted to display in this exhibit are pieces that are not complete. This is a little explanation here of basically where these things come from. They're around 50 million years old and were fossils that I rescued, quote-unquote, from a discard pile. So I went to a quarry when I was around, I think, 9 or 10 years old. This might have been 2010 is when we did this trip. I was with my family. We all went to Wyoming for a spell, and the people who were quarrying there in this quarry were looking for largely complete fish and just kind of discarding all these pieces of different individuals that show the same kind of incredible delicate preservation. They just don't have the whole fish in it and we're going to be thrown away. So these are fossils that I stuffed in a box and kind of hoarded for a while because I was like, I can't let them just get thrown out and buried. You know, in these quarries you have piles of hundreds and hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds of fossils that just kind of get left out and they decompose and they break down, erode over time. And so this was a sample that I collected. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be able to do something with these someday. And what you're looking at is the something. So you can get up close and inspect each of these and see, you know, this is just a tail, right? This is just a fish tail. But even though it is just a fish tail, look, you can see all, again, of these delicate pieces of the fin, pieces of the spine are all still there. And even though it might be difficult to figure out which species, each of these came from, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have scientific value or aesthetic value, or in this case, educational value, I just can't stomach the idea of like fossils being discarded and thrown away, even though in some deposits like the Green River Formation, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of fossils to be found. So this, for example, is part of a fish skull. You can see like the orbit right there. That's where the eye would be. It's upside down in this view. Let's reorient you. Yeah, you can see the mouth is right there. These are some more bones right there. Those look like parts of the ribs. So yeah, this is a really cool exhibit to just kind of explore and spend some time really looking closely, So this is another chunk of part of the rib cage. You can see all the spine is still there. All the ribs are still there. There's little pieces that have broken off, but these kind of tan, darker bones right there, that's all original. And then as a bonus, in addition to all this stuff, this one is honestly one of my favorites. It's just a pectoral fin. It's just a loose fin that fell off of some fish. Who knows what? But this was, part of the swimming apparatus of an animal that lived 50 million years ago, that one of its fins fell off and fossilized and was found by, an ape crawling around in a quarry 50 million years later, that now no matter where you are in the world, you can go and take a look at it, inspect up close, and just kind of sit with that and think about it. So this is a really cool exhibit. I'm really glad that I got around to showing this. Also in this exhibit are some photos and then the scans themselves of coprolites. So we focus a lot in paleontology on body fossils because those are the ones that people get really excited about seeing. But coprolites, which are fossilized feces, right? This is dung, leavings, droppings, whatever you want to call them. They are also really important for paleontology because they help us interpret what an animal's diet might have been. They tell you something about the size of the animal that made it, right? So these are all presumably from fish coprolites. This one has kind of smaller pellets. This one is a little bit larger. And again, you've got the scale in the corner here. And it's just one of those things where, like, how much fish poop is there in the world today, right? Uncountable volumes of this stuff, and yet how much of it is able to settle in just the right place and be buried in just the right condition so that 50 million years later someone can come across it and pick it up and find it as a petrified stone, and be able to not just examine it and photograph it, but then put it on display for people to see. So this is the Green River Formation. This one, for sure, over time, as I work getting into new collections, this one will definitely expand. But for now, these are the pieces that I'm really proud to show. This is probably the most complete piece. This is called Nidea. I'm pretty sure this one is Nidea. It's one of the most common fish in this area. But I'm not an expert in identifying Green River fish, so if you are, and you think you might have an ID on some of these, go jump into the Steam forums and let me know what you think. You can also contact, for any reason, if you're interested in talking to me about the project. The email you should go to is ptpaleo@proton.me. That's ptpaleo@proton.me is the address for that. And patreon.com/ptpaleo is where you can support the project, and you can see all the articles that I've written, all the videos that are now public. I'm going to be going out into the field not too long from now, if I might indulge myself and jump into the Menifee Formation exhibit here. In just about a month and a half, I'm going to be going back out into the field where all of these giant petrified trees, some of them are giant, some of them are smaller, where these were scanned. I'm studying and publishing on the reptiles from the Menifee Formation this year, the non-dinosaurian reptiles, so the crocs. I'm increasing the number of known species that are from this deposit, and I'm really excited to show off all of that knowledge. So you can scan the last paper that I did from 2021 describing the first material of this giant alligatoid Deinosuchus from the Menifee Formation. And there's going to be some new information that will be published this year. So that's kind of what I'm working on. As I go into the blog post, I'm a part-time employee of the University of Arizona. I was hired to kind of train as part of a graduate program that unfortunately is not going to go forward for a couple of reasons. Unfortunately, my boss and advisor and a good friend of mine passed away about a month ago, so I'm not able to study under him. We've also had some pretty severe cuts to the National Science Foundation, which is what funds a lot of what's going on all over the United States in all different types of science, and that includes paleontology. So a lot of different... I'm far from the only student who has unfortunately been handed a rejection letter for a graduate application because of issues like this. So there are a lot of people in the boat that I'm in right now. I appreciate the condolences that people have sent for Dr. Cohen's passing. Grad school is something that you can really do at any age, honestly. It doesn't have to happen in your mid-20s or even in your 30s or 40s. You can come back to it at a time that's convenient for you, that's conducive for you. So I'm planning on applying again at the end of this year. I'm going to keep working my part-time job at the university. But in the meantime, because I don't have a stipend to be working with, that just means that there's financial things that I need to be working on. And so I'm glad that I've been working on SHADOWBOX for all this time, that it's in this state now where I do feel comfortable asking for one-time donations and things like that to help keep this project going, because this project is what keeps me going. So. And you guys giving those donations is what keeps all of this turning. So I super duper appreciate it. And I want to thank you guys for watching this devlog update. Please download the game and play it and let me know how it works on your end. All this information not just helps me, it helps Brayton, who is the one who actually knows how this stuff is working under the hood. Again, I'm just the guy who finds the fossils and scans them, writes the information, builds the exhibits and things like that. So any feedback that you can provide, any suggestions, it's all super helpful. There was a wonderful positive review that was just posted a couple of days ago that made me really happy to see. The part that I really enjoyed was the reviewer said that it is worth checking out in its current state, which I agree with. I know there's a lot of people who... so a lot of people have added this game to their wish list because it is early access, and there's a belief that, and it's a perfectly valid attitude to say, I don't want to, I want to keep an eye on this, but I'm not going to play it until it's finished. And if that's you, that's totally valid. But again, it's free, and you're not missing out on anything, or there's nothing to be lost by seeing it as it grows and helping be part of the process to continuously improve this. I'm going to see if I can jump from here onto the... Oh, there we go. Excellent. Yeah, and part of the fun of the game, which, we're going to continue working on, is allowing you to run and jump and parkour around the exhibits, because from my time as a volunteer in museums, I know that is what people want to do. You see these big displays and you want to climb on them, and there's no reason not to allow you to do that in SHADOWBOX. So... explore, learn stuff, but have fun with it, and enjoy the laser pointer and all these new exhibits. Brayton, is there anything you want to share before we sign off? This is really fun.
Yeah, just quick, speaking of the laser pointer, I don't know if you mentioned in this video, but if you go into the display settings, you can actually customize the color to whatever you want. So you're not limited to red. You've got RGB sliders. You can see just general menu updates, specifically with the resolution, so you should have better control over what resolution the game plays at now.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I am not like a professional programmer or like game developer. I do this just as a hobby, out of the joy it brings me. So, again, if people have have any ideas of things they want to see in the game, we're always looking for new things to add, as we work on some of the bigger fixes and bigger ideas in the background. So if there's literally anything you want to see, accessibility or non-accessibility related, please do, mention it, and we will work our absolute hardest to get it in the game.
Yeah, let us know. This is now, I think, the 6th version that we've pushed on Steam so far. The beta release was just on January 1st, and it's only early April, so I think we've demonstrated that we are working hard on this, and because I don't have a grad program starting in the fall of this year, this is what I'm going to continue, putting my effort into, and continuing to push this and make it so much cooler and so much better. So that's what I wanted to share. Thanks for watching. Share this video around. Check out the different links. And play the game. Come on, it's free. And we worked really hard on it, so enjoy. And I will see you guys next time after my brief little break.